Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a scrapbook layout today, a 12 by 12 layout, and I'm using my March Basic Gray kit, and I'm inking the edges of this piece of paper from Spice Market with pumice stone distress ink. I always ink the edges of Basic Gray papers in gray. It is the best color I find for their papers, always. So I've taken now a 9 by 12 piece of paper and inked it, and now this one is 5.5 by 12, and I'm inking it, and I'm going to stack them all on top of each other, and then I'm going to mat two 4 by 6 photos on 4.5 by 6.5 pattern paper. And I'm using a sketch from Kelly Gorey and Basic Gray that comes with the kit. It was designed for vertical photos, so I flipped it on its side to use for horizontal photos. So if you get the kit, you'll see that, you know, my layout doesn't look exactly like hers. This is just another example of how you can adapt sketches and kits and other people's layout inspiration to your own photos and your own needs. So now I'm going to stack these pieces of paper on top of each other, and I don't want them to all be centered. I feel like it'll be a little bit more visually pleasing if everything is just a little off balance. So I adhered the yellow strip an inch up from the bottom, and this one, now I'm going to adhere this 1.5 inches up. This piece actually will end up being centered because I can't do maths. But if you didn't want it centered, you would put it 1 inch up from the bottom instead of 1.5 inches. And so now I'm looking for my photos, I guess. I had no idea what I was doing. And I had the hardest time getting these askew in just the right amount way. I messed with it actually for a really long time, and it's just to the point where I was just like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to glue this down wherever. So I don't always have a perfect plan for how everything is going to go. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just done messing with this, and it's getting glued down here because that's where it is when I lose my patience. So my problem was I didn't want the sign on the top, but I kept having trouble getting it so that you could read the whole sign if the sign was underneath the chicken. And I finally got it all sorted out, and that, but yeah, not everything always goes perfect all the time. Too bad for me. So now I'm going to take this pattern to paper strip, and I'm going to use the chevron that's naturally on the strip to create a flag, a fishtail banner shape. And basically I'm just going to cut one side, and then I flip it over so that I can cut the other side as a mirror of that. Or you could cut it far enough up to where there was two pieces. So, you know, I cut it right through the orange, but if you cut it right along the white, you'd be fine. So now I have to alter where this medallion is placed because of the adaptation I made to the sketch. So I'm just trying to decide if I want it down there or if I want it centered on the two photos. And if so, you know, based on where it is, where do I want my left embellishment cluster to be? So I think, okay, let's move the left embellishment cluster closer to the photos. I didn't like the My Favorite touching the sign because they were the same color, but then I didn't like the banner touching the photo mat because they were the same color. So I moved it farther over, and then I moved that up, and then I think I kind of like it like that. That's what I'm going to do. And then when I glue it down, I don't glue it down like that because I don't know why. I couldn't even tell you. Maybe I forgot in the 2 minutes it took me to cut this little piece. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was just like, you know, jamming to some tunes and chugging along and gluing stuff down wherever I felt like it, and forgetting any plans I had. I mean, I glued stuff down backwards and sideways, you'll see. So now I'm going to ink the inside of the frame before I glue it down, because it's really hard to ink the inside of the frame after I glue it down. And then I'm also going to ink the outside. I'm using the same gray ink. I've been using pumice stone throughout. So I'm going to add, since this has been handled a bit now, I'm going to add some score tape to the back. Miracle tape, rather. Same thing, basically. Any double-sided sticky tape is going to be great. And then I'm going to ink the edges of the chipboard pieces that I chose to go on top of and beside this piece, so that everything just has a soft gray edge. And this is just going to give it a lightly distressed edge without making it look, you know, too vintage. Okay, so the layout is back, and now you're going to see where I start putting things down kind of all crazy. So my first mistake is I put this down first when I should have done the brackets first, because once I press this down and then I come in with my, you know, and I really press it down twice even, then wrote on it, and then I come in with the bracket, and the bracket covers up the sign. So that doesn't work. So after I finish my journaling and everything, I'm going to have to pull this up. And of course I used a really aggressive adhesive, and I pushed it down twice. So it doesn't come up easy, but I think I do eventually get it up. So, so I thought, well, maybe I don't have to just pull it up. Maybe I'll just put this on top, and then that looked really bad. So I was like, no. So the tool I just grabbed, this is called a delaminator, and it's a bookbinding tool, and it's for delaminating things, or getting in between two pieces of paper and pulling them apart. And so that's what I used. So now I'm going to glue the bracket down, and some glue got on my photos. My printer prints waterproof photos, luckily, so I'm able to take a baby wipe and wipe it up without worrying about damaging my photos at all. So now I'm going to add more adhesive to the back of this and then press it down now that the bracket is in place. And that will solve that. And then I'm going to get the other bracket and glue it down. And there, I've got my main piece there with my journaling, and then I'm just going to use a small chipboard piece to bridge the gap between the medallion and the bracket on the right, and that's also going to cover up that paper that's showing in between there, that little strip of the white, and it'll just make it look really nice and pretty. And so now that this is down, I'm going to glue my left embellishment cluster down, and rather than gluing it to the top of the page with the black strip on the left like I wanted originally, I'm going to glue it to the middle of the page with the black strip on the right. Because why? I don't know. Maybe because I am sleep deprived. I have no idea. It's like a different person made this layout the second half of the video. When I was editing it, I was like, what are you doing? So, I'm going to take this chipboard photo corner from the Basic Gray Spice Market collection, and I'm going to glue it down to the top of the photo in the right, just to bring some of that blue down onto the orange. And then I'm going to glue this pretty flower on top to bring some of the flowers up over. And so now that's where that black piece is going to end up, and it's too close to the bracket. But I decided to live with it since I already moved stuff around once and glued everything down. And it doesn't look bad. It just, you know, wasn't what I originally planned. So I'm going to cut this piece because I want it to go be rounded, finished on both ends. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I need to cut it so that the cut falls underneath the banner. And then that way you won't see that it's cut, and it'll just look like one long continuous piece. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to position my banner. And I'm putting foam tape on it because it's going to go part on and part off the chipboard piece. And then I'm just going to slide the chipboard piece underneath, press it down, and then I'll peel the adhesive backing off the tape, and voila. There is my banner covering my gap. So now I'm taking these metal pieces and I'm taking glossy accents to adhere them to the layout. And I'm not using very much glossy accents because they're so light, they don't need a ton of adhesive. And then they are not having as much pop as I would like them to have. So I actually decide after I've glued them down that I'm going to have to outline all of the little filigrees. And I'm using a 0.005 tip pen, which is a really, really, really skinny pen. And see how it does look better now that I have taken the time to do that. It just doesn't blend in with the pattern on the banner as much. And so now I'm going to put down the blue one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to outline the blue one because now that I've outlined one, I have to outline the other, of course. And on the center of each of these, I'm going to glue one of those little chipboard flowers. And I'm inking the edges. I'm inking everything on this layout. And I'm going to talk to you for a second about how I keep my glossy accents from clogging. You see how I push the bottle, squeeze the bottle when I'm wiping the tip? By squeezing the bottle when I wipe the tip, I squeeze the bottle until I force glossy accents into the nozzle while it's in that upright position. That way, when I take my hand off it, the vacuum created sucks the glossy accents out of the nozzle and back into the bottle, so the nozzle does not get clogged. Okay, so you'll see me do it here again. I'm squeezing the bottle as I wipe the tip, and then when I let go of the bottle, whatever little bit of glossy accents is left in the nozzle gets sucked back into the bottle. And that's how you keep your glossy accents from clogging. That is a tip for you that will make your life super awesome. Okay, so now I have my 2 photos of my dinner at Mrs. Knott's, chicken dinner at Knott's Berry Farm in Southern California. Went there at CHA, and going there always makes me think of the movie Mrs. Miniver because she started that chicken dinner place. So yeah, and that is the embellishment cluster. It didn't turn out too bad. I guess I shouldn't have criticized my past self as much as I did. So I'm pretty happy with the layout. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, everyone. Bye.